Hey Prasann,
Hi.
1 second. Let me also make you spotlight. So great. So first of all, how has it been since the time you scored, and were you expecting this score? Was there something unusual on your exam? And as we know, you're from a non-math background, and math wasn't your forte, and plus sentence correction also. And how much time you took? What advice you'd give? Just go. I mean, whatever
Yeah,
flow you want to take, please tell.
sure. So I think I wouldn't say I'm from a non-math background, but it obviously wasn't my forte. I currently work in an investment banking firm, so I had like a pretty strenuous 13 hours of work. But obviously, with your expertise, I was able to find the right guidance and optimize my workflows such that I was able to study correctly. But yeah,
Right.
I sentence correction was at first a problem, but then it was fixed. We can discuss the nuances of that in a bit.
Right. And what was the study schedule like? How did you find time to study? How did you keep yourself motivated? And was there a timeline in your mind that this is the date by which I want to wrap this up? How did your mock scores move? And finally, was there anything unusual on the exam? Take any flow you want. Okay, these are
Sure.
some questions I have
Yeah.
overall. Yeah.
Yeah. So as for my study schedule, I used to wake up around 5:30, 5:45 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and study till about 8, 8:15.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd go to work and then I'd come back by about 10ish and study for another hour or so. It was it was difficult at times to stay motivated, but I had the good fortune of having people join and then tell us, because I remember there was this one person who was from Deutsche Bank, and he said he had a similar schedule. So I figured if he could do it, I could do it. So I kept
Mm-hmm.
pushing, kept pushing. And I think there was just a lot of visualization. Like I saw it happening. So I kept pushing. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous to know that. I mean, this really works in that case.
Yeah.
Tell us about the exam experience. Was there something that you found that no, this I have never seen before or unusual? Because your verbal is
Yeah.
45, which is absolutely outstanding. I mean, it boggles my mind getting a 99 percentile on the verbal section, but still, just take us through
Yeah.
that.
To be fair, I think as far as test taking is concerned, I'm not part of the general population. I'm generally very calm with test taking because I'd rather just do everything I can beforehand and then I stop thinking about the score whatsoever. So I was pretty calm. But I will say, the, so the order of my sections was quant, verbal, and then IR and then AWA. I
Hmm.
stumped on the first quant question. And I spent about 4 minutes and I was like, first 10 questions have to be right, have to be right. And I kept pushing and I was like, okay, chuck it, let's move on. And then I took an intelligent guess and moved on. After that, it was sort of smooth sailing. I recalibrate myself by the time I reached verbal,
Hmm.
and then I knew I had to hit it hard. So
Hmm.
I focused as much as I could because there is a degree of you become lax with your comprehension by the time you reach
Hmm.
the end of verbal, right? So I had to keep that momentum going, and after that was then it's just IR and AW.
But
So I was
nothing
fine.
unusual per se on the test, like in terms of
Oh
question.
no, yeah, no. I think even with verbal, even though I'm not quite the person to go to for verbal, just the fact that we've been exposed to so many questions. I mean, I did the 700 to 800 level questions thoroughly, so it just sort of primes you to be able to see a question that you haven't seen before and still sort of figure your way out through it,
Hmm.
right? I think that was very important because I tried like OG questions before that and they seemed easy, but they obviously don't show up on the exam, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
the 700 to 800 really helped, really helped.
All right. And what was your weakest area while studying? And how did you really push like the consistency? Because 7 days a week, it is difficult to study. And you were part of the live
Yeah.
batch, distinctly remember. So, I
Yeah.
mean, how was the momentum maintained? Just tell
Yeah, I think
consistency.
I think the most important factor was that pre-work was stressed on a lot, and
Mm.
I think that was quintessential. If I hadn't sort of kept the momentum for the pre-work, I didn't want to be lagging behind in the class. So I don't
Mhm.
want it to be such that I attend the class on Saturday and Sunday and I haven't done the work, right? Because then I have the next week's work plus the previous week's work. That would have been unrealistic with my schedule. So I sort of just kept pushing. I did have the relief of taking a couple of days off, like once in 2 weeks, I'd take a day off
Mhm.
and just sort of blaze through as much as I could.
Mhm.
But I made sure that I never sort of let the gear down with
Mhm.
pre-work.
Great, great. And what was the weakest section? Challenge with pacing? Was there anything with the concept in any section for you initially when you
Uh,
started?
I don't think there was specifically a challenge in pacing because, but there does arise a challenge in pacing by the time you reach the test, right?
Right.
So I also had a different story with the mock. I only wrote one mock.
Mhm.
And in that, I got a 770. That was the
Mhm.
official mock. And even in that mock, I think I was done with my verbal in about 35-40 minutes. But then by the time I
Oh,
actually reached the test, because I generally had a quicker pace with verbal. But by the time I reached the test date,
yeah.
I remember doing verbal till like last 5 minutes, and I never spent that much time, right? But I just having that consistency of being just slightly quicker than the pace, so
Mhm.
that when you do need to sort of scope into the question, you can.
Mhm.
I think that really helps.
And your quant, was there any particular area that you were not good at? Like,
Yeah, there obviously was. There was probability in PNC.
hmm.
It took me a couple of iterations, but I mean, I went through every resource there was that you had provided. By the end of it, I got fairly comfortable with it. Like I remember, even on my in the
Mhm.
exam question, I'm pretty sure I got that one right. But yeah,
Right.
I think it's just for people trying to do either quant or verbal. There's a there's a lot that goes into the basic material that's been prepared for you, and if you like I hammered those in as much as I could. Like anytime I found time, I was just going through the basics again and again, because I
You
knew at
make,
the end of the day
yeah, yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
You make things look very simple, though. I'm sure you must have had your days in which things were really not as enthusiastic for you. I'm just guessing
Of
because
course.
you're making
Yeah, yeah.
things look very simple. That no, it was just a smash out of the park straight away. So let's not
Absolutely
do
not.
that.
I think my bent of mind is just of a slightly more optimistic person. So I just it's
I'm so
uh
glad to hear that, and everybody should really, really take your mindset because,
yeah.
yeah,
So even when things weren't working out, I just said no. And to be fair, when I got my score, I was a little annoyed because I didn't score on quant the way I wanted to. But yeah, I kept thinking I had a 790 in my mind. So I put 10 points off
so
just for
how is
the
it
sake
that
of
you
luck.
got only 49? What may have happened? I mean, what is
Yeah,
your
I
guess?
because I messed up in the first question and then I had to sort of pick up the pace. I knew I had to make a couple of sacrifices here and there for the questions that I could have pushed up, because I think that 2.5 minute timer that
Mhm.
we've been suggested is a very good one. If
Right.
you don't find yourself hitting that mark, even if
Mhm.
you think you're 10 seconds away, you're never really 10 seconds away. And I think I learned
Mhm.
that lesson in the first question itself. So I
Oh,
had to make a few sacrifices here and there. But yeah,
all right.
and
And
it wasn't
yeah,
easy. I know it can sound I don't want it to sound preachy, but when it did get difficult, I remember you said once that once you reach that top 1 percentile, it's a different feeling. So I just kept chasing that. So I just kept pushing.
I'm so glad. I mean, generally the debriefs that we have from people are from like genuine trouble and genuine struggle, and that then
Yeah,
finally some triumph and that too unexpected. Very nice to hear your story that you expected 790. People say I was expecting a 720, but 770 hit or something. That's fabulous. So, and in general, like reading comprehension, critical reasoning, sentence correction, quantitative, you told me about quant, but were there
yeah,
personal challenges with either RC or CR, or probably with SC as well? Just tell me.
yeah. I think I had to recalibrate my expectations of what's good. Right when I
Mm,
entered the classes, I again, this might be anomalous, but I had a slightly higher strike rate with getting correct answers.
mm,
But unfortunately, I settled into that, right? And those are by instinct. So I had to teach myself, like I had to relearn the methods, and I had to construct it in myself such that no, if you are going to go for prime, you are going to go for prime, even if you think this is wrong. Like
mm.
this question might be right, but it doesn't hit your instinct. That is right because prime tells you it's right, and that always worked.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
fabulous.
was
Because
quite a
yeah,
bit
in
of
that case,
rewiring.
it can fire from 80 to 95% then. Like that
Correct,
20,
correct.
15-20% gap is all that matters for someone who's generally very smart otherwise. I mean, that's the point. So where are you
Yeah.
applying, Prasanna, now? What is the plan?
Uh, I've only been working for about a year and a half now, so
Okay.
I'm planning on waiting it out a little bit more. I spoke to Audrey,
Mhm.
I will have a couple of things in the boiler pot. So once that works out, then I think in the next 3 ish or so years. Yeah.
What's the advice you'll give people, and what is the timeline that they should plan? Nobody is ready to believe that it can be done in 2.5 months or something. So
Yeah.
do you believe it can be done? And because that's
Yeah, I
been the
believe it
timeline.
definitely can be done. If you are fortunate to be, say, unencumbered, where you have nothing else that's holding you back, you should for sure hit it in 2.5 months, right? My unfortunate limitation was that I had very strenuous work commitments that I couldn't relax with. So I was at a slightly slow pace, but it can for sure be done. Yeah.
All right. Right. Thanks in that case for joining us and really sharing whatever your experience was. All the very best and keep in touch. I think, and know the world videos you were saying something about yesterday when we were on
Yeah.
chat. So, what has that
Yeah.
experience been? Why are you rewatching them? Just tell that as well.
Yeah. So my experience with Know the World was uh, I have a sort of appreciation for the way it's structured. Like
Mhm.
you might find bits and pieces passed here and there when you're doing your own research, but when you see somebody who's aligned all of it in a like a perfect web, it's very fascinating, and just the way it goes from one point to the other, it really excites me. So I every time I re-listen to those videos, I always find a new connection that I hadn't spotted before, and it helps me sort of build mental models for my everyday thinking. It's very helpful.
Wow, fabulous to know. Fabulous to know. Prasann, we should talk more. I think we'll really,
Yeah,
we'll really find some common ground for conversations. Right.
I'm sure.
Thank you for
Yeah.
joining. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.